tremendous significance because the murder that occurred in Babi Yar 80 years ago, in which some 33,700 Jews were murdered, for a very long time was not really openly recognized in the Ukraine. During the Soviet period, of course, it wasn't openly recognized. It only began to be recognized with the very famous poem by Yevgeny Yevtushenko about the murder, and then the composer Shostakovich, who then put it to music, began opening up the story some more. But even so, even after the immediate post-communist period, it's still a contested memory in many ways because of the complexities of what happened during the Holocaust in Ukraine. So having a ceremony like this in which the Israeli president, the German president, the Ukrainian president are there is a very important message about what happened in Babi Yar.
And this happens as we now saw these images of the Israeli president. They're being welcomed in Ukraine. There we see these images, the Israeli president at the presidential palace in Kiev. How important is the fact that an Israeli president is being welcomed with such warmness in Ukraine, to the acceptance of, yes, as you mentioned, the fact that all this genocide, these murders happened on Ukrainian soil?
Well, again, it's very important, I think, and very symbolic that an Israeli president, as well as Dani Dayan, the new chairman of Yad Vashem, is also there. I think these are very important statements about it, because even today still, there's a hard time for many Ukrainians to confront their own role in what happened to the Jews in the Ukraine. Of course, the Nazis are at the spearhead of the murder of the Jews there, but there was a lot of Ukrainian collaboration, including among some people who are still venerated in the Ukraine as patriots, like Roman Shushkevich and Stepan Bandera, who, again, they were anti-communists and they were Ukrainian patriots, and they wanted the independence of Ukraine, but their followers were involved to a very large extent in the murder of the local Jews. And it's still hard for many Ukrainians to see this as an open fact of something that happened. And so, again, having the Germans and the Israelis and the Ukrainian presidents all there together, I think that sends an important message about trying to look head on at this history and to accept what happened, and then to afterwards, again, to deal with the history as it was.
And though we're more than 70 years, actually more than 75 years since the end of the Holocaust, it is very emotional to see these images we're seeing now again, live from Kiev, the Israeli national anthem being played, with the Israeli president being received in such a cordial way there in Ukraine. As symbolic as it may be, perhaps a symbol of the fact that eventually the Jewish people were able to survive, thrive, and build their own independent nation.
Well, of course, that is part of the story, that despite the tremendous destruction of Jews in World War II and the Holocaust, we Jews are still around. And of course, with the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, there's this very important anchor about who we are and what we are. And Jewish communities here in Israel and other places around the world are still existing, and in some places we can really say thriving. Although, again, the situation's complex these days. And so, yes, that message is there, as well as the message that I said before about the acceptance of the history, which is so important. And I also think that, again, that we, so many years afterwards, I think, again, trying to connect on the human level with one another in the different countries, again, is very important, because everybody today, just about everybody today who is alive, was not there. Very few survivors or anybody who was an adult in that period are still with us. There are some, but basically we're talking about the generation after the war, even to the third generation afterwards. And it's important to say, to accept the history, but then also to open this new page of human relations between various people and to try to know and understand one another.